All right, take two. I got interrupted with a phone call. Welcome back to Indian Trace Part 2 of Let's Get Personal. Uh, I'm very fond of videos like this because they feature one of my favorite things, which are scrapers. Some of these happen to be called what some folks would call thumb scrapers, but they are personal items, intimate items for the North American Indian from the Stone Age. Human beings, men, but primarily women who were conditioning hides. Multiple different types of animals as Americans in American material culture and the postmodern civilization, we have a hard time understanding just how rich and how many different types of animals really were cleaned and used and utilized. They didn't pass by many, and they ate pretty much everything. You can go beyond the mammals and get to the amphibians and frogs and things and snails, and they ate it all. Whatever they could eat, it was just that way. And so, let's take a look at these. The big ones are awesome. We saw those. And there were even bison here in the east, in eastern central North Carolina. But I like all of these, and we're going to, again, try it. Hopefully I won't get interrupted by a phone call, which cuts off the video. And I'm just not, I put on a video before where it was cut off, but that was the very end. I don't like it when that happens. It just does. But take a look at these. They are much more personal. And so I'm trying to feel that when I share about these things. Let's look at them. Now remember, at least, I could be wrong, but in reading the historic period Indian documentation, which is all we have for history, about from the late 1500s, early 1600s and up, strong going in the late 1600s, 1700, 1750, people started to keep journals. But even then, it was pretty clear that they were following a habit pattern where the women often would take the game that was attained that day and that was killed. Nice stone, right? Nice flint. Look at the edges, often flat. I just found one the other day. And they probably had a box, or, well, they don't have boxes, basket or a bowl or little bag that they would throw these scrapers in. Keep them close by, and if they told their child to go get their scrapers, they'd go grab the bag of scrapers or what have you, and they'd pull out the one that was appropriate for the job. I get distracted as I'm sharing about these things. They're items that were then used, scraped, cut, multi-tooled to get that thing cleaned off, but in predominance, scrape the tallow off the inside of the skins, to clean the skins off, to make them quick and ready. Lots of other things need to be done. Brains of those animals need to be spread onto the inside of those skins to condition the skins, and many other processes of smoking and making the particular animal ready, and all animals were cured differently, but they used them all. A great piece of sugar quartz to make a scraper there. So these hung around. It's funny. We value the art of the mystique of the arrowhead and the spear point and everything, but they made those to expend. Tracking games, often at high speed, and bleeding game through the bush. They didn't care if they lost the arrowheads. They'd make more, or points. They'd sure wish they didn't, but they didn't probably go scratching through the woods looking for lost atlatl darts and things like that. But these, I'm sure they kept in a bowl or bag, a little area, because they were very organized. At least the historic period Indians and many clans were very organized in their wigwams and their teepees and where they kept things. So one of the reasons that I wanted to do 2 videos on scrapers, Let's Get Personal, is because I think often in terms of the North American Indian, we don't think about the women enough who did so much of the work. Period. They did so much of the work. The real dangerous stuff. It was dangerous to hunt buffalo, and they got busted up and killed, and it was dangerous to hunt bear or wolf And they did hunt these things. They didn't just avoid them. They did hunt them. And the better you did, the more prestige and the more honor you would have in your tribe. We can see from the historic period Indians the different jewelry they had that had serious game on it. Serious bear claws on it. And they didn't find the bear dead. And they'd work in teams to ambush, but it was dangerous stuff. Because as many of you big game hunters know, whether it's an elk or whatever it is, or a moose, if they are upset at you and you are in the way, they will make short business of breaking you up and you're done. Great piece of sugar quartz. That aside, these scrapers were used for the little game. Muskrats, rabbits, possums, skunk. I could go on and on, you know. So, to me, it's a better thing to covet these more than I do the points. I love the way points look. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a ton of them which show me how expendable they were and just how they were using them as a resource. But since I know what these were for, they begin to speak louder and louder to me, including the hammerstones too. I mean, that was something. Those hammerstones, though, that we find, I will put this plug in, were probably tools that were used mostly by the men, because they did, when the game was either not available or it wasn't time to hunt, they did hang out and craft their atlatl darts and their points, projectile point tips and stuff, and that's what they did a lot of. Often I have heard that the men even crafted tools for the women, like this, and would provide them for them. The matatas and things like that, or the grinding stones that they needed, they would harvest the stone and get them prepared, and then the women would just use them to go to work. Look at this scraper. It's all good stuff. Look at the wear on this. And you can tell it just fits right in there to do the business. Awesome stuff. And I found a really unique one this past calendar year of sugar quartz. It's not a point. They just made it a point for usability. It's definitely a scraper. My focus is going to work. Very much the same. You see the repetition of angles, of shape on many of these points. Sure, the thumb scrapers are the triangle scrapers, but then also the rounder ones. Such a repetition, you know what was used for. So, pretty much does it. Yeah, I cut my finger, I know, that's pretty obvious. Now, appreciate everybody tuning in to Indian Trace. That just shows the color and the natural light. I had a little extra time just to make it more personal. It's just the way I view it. I could be wrong. I have a lot to learn, but I really think, and I've done a lot of reading, that I'm close to being right about it. And it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's just a matter of feeling and understanding what we're saving out there. So from Indian Trace to all you out there, I definitely hope you find be well out there.